Hi, everyone. So in the next few minutes, Hossam, Terry, and we're going to talk about how marketing is evolving for the next year and even more after that through the lens of precision marketing and brand experience and brand aspiration. So if you talk to a consumer, what is precision marketing? I'm sure many of them will say it's that technology that makes advertising more creepy for me. It's the technology that makes me think that my phone is listening to me. But Hossam, let's start with you. What does precision marketing mean for Nissan and the automotive category in general?
Yeah, thank you, Bhaskar. First of all, it's a pleasure to be with you all today. I think precision marketing is mistaken for just sending a message to someone that is in the right time and so on. Precision marketing is about being personal. I think one of the most important things about precision marketing is how to be personal to the customer without being creepy, right? Which is unfortunately has been the trend for some year. Another thing that we've heard about today, which was COVID, the disruption, and so on and so forth, which I believe for the big brands, and most of the brands I'm seeing here today as big brands, has been preempted before COVID. And I think that's a very important thing. That at Nissan, as an example, we had Customer Power 22, and we had two main pillars. One, which is precision marketing, to be as human and personalized as possible. The second was digitally enabling the customer journeys. And this brings me to it, customer journey. So as long as you are personalizing the communication to the customer based on their journeys, I think that this is the most important thing to fit into precision marketing.
Great. I think that's a very interesting perspective that we need to start thinking about customer journey as a whole. And whenever we get briefs from Nissan, it's always about looking at the entire customer journey and making them personalized, messaging personalized. So messaging personalized is one aspect of it. Terry, coming to you, where does media planning come into the picture and how does it differ to make this journey more personalized for a customer?
I think the big difference is the tools that we have available at our fingertips nowadays. Certainly even just going back 5-10 years, there's been really dramatic changes in what we do and what we understand about our consumers and how they interact with different media channels. It's not a dramatic rework of how we approach media. All of the basics and all of the essentials are still in place, but with everything that precision places at our fingertips, it gets dialed up to 11. Understanding, journeys come up a lot. Journeys are probably going to come up a lot today, given your specialty, Bhaskar. But understanding how people move between media, understanding how people interact with different media at different points in time, you know, mornings where people are more receptive and able to take in more information versus evenings, which are more of a lean back moment, you know, that sort of understanding of where people are, combined with an understanding of how receptive they are at any given point in time, how receptive they are to the brand, and their existing relationship, if any, with the brand, and feeding all that into a cohesive media journey becomes really, really important.
So that's interesting because whenever we talk about these things, the automatic sort of implication is that it's more digital media heavy. But I remember just in the coffee break right now, we were talking about how brands are experimenting with different models. 6th Street, we were talking about the new 6th Street store at the Dubai Hills Mall and how even automotive brands are experimenting with more digital and offline combination. So with this whole thing of brand experience now becoming more important, talking about the future, how do you see marketing evolving and this precision marketing evolving to incorporate the brand experience part of it?
Yeah, I think data. We've all been talking data here. One of the biggest challenges is how you can properly aggregate this data to make it meaningful and turn it into information where you actually turn into a data-driven marketing operation. And this is where the AI actually would come in. So going back to one of the presentations which I really enjoyed, which is talking about the percentage of accuracy on AI. That's really good. But as long as you are having the right foundation from structuring your data and how it's flowing in and out, and being able to deliver a data-driven decision from a marketing perspective. So we've talked as well about the recession and how the marketing budgets can go down. I'm a marketeer for many, many years. I don't think that the right decision is just to take the budget down. No, why don't I be more efficient through whatever I'm investing? And if I'm already hitting my business KPIs, this is my threshold, this is my saturation level. And I think that any wise marketeer would think about. And within this current ecosystem, it's very, very important. So we are an OEM, as an example, in automotive as Nissan. We work with multiple partners across the region. One of the most important things is standardization, so that you can ensure that whatever you are delivering is based on a standard and it's meaningful to the customer. And when I say it's meaningful to the customer, it's not to the level of the creepiness or just, hi Hussam, this doesn't mean personalization. Again, at the same time, every touch point has to be personalized. Lastly, it's the online to the offline connection. We have a non-English word at Nissan, it's called phygital. This phygital is all about connecting the online world to the offline world, and Bhaskar and Terry are aware about it. It's very important that as we all speak about the digitalization, et cetera, I'm a marketer, digital, yeah, but what if I spend all of this time, I go to the showroom and we're restarting. Hi, who are you? What car are you interested in? Come on, no way. Everything has to be connected. Everything has to continue to eventually reach what we are aspiring for, which is a seamless, proper seamless customer experience.
So building on that, Hossam, can I say that the vision or the future of marketing from this lens would be a one customer view for a marketer, so that, like you said, if I go to a showroom, the showroom person should know that, yes, I have visited the website, for example. How do you see that vision coming
For
to life?
sure. Goes without a say. So again, seeing the global ecosystem of data, privacy, and how we as a brand have to be transparent as much as possible to our customers in every sense. I think it's important, yes, to have a single customer view, have a proper back end, have a proper front end that represents to the customer his data or her data, because it's important to them as well to have the decision of what type of data that we are utilizing to be aspirational. Because eventually, yes, I'm selling cars, okay? I'm a Nissan, I have good cars, etc., etc., we're good. But at the end, there is a competition. What's differentiating me to be an aspiration for my customers is the experience. I don't care if it's the least model at Nissan or you're going for our flagship. It has to be as best as it could be.
If I can take a step back from that
Please,
as well, we're talking about really intense personalization at this point, understanding who people are when they step into a showroom, making sure that experience is as strong as possible. If we look at what Philip just presented from a digital out-of-home perspective, being able to understand who's interacting with an outdoor placement, what gender, age, how attentive they are, that attention is really, really important. Who's actually looking at that particular outdoor and giving it a moment of their day, and then being able to target mobile devices of people of the same gender, age, that have been through that particular area. Even that is an element of precision at a very, very top end of the funnel that we can't ignore.
And continuing on that, Terry, Hossam mentioned something, that this whole vision of one customer, we know how a customer has behaved online, how they're behaving offline. Where does media come into the picture in this brand achieving this vision? And how does media need to evolve to make this happen?
I think that question of evolve is really, really interesting, right? I think we always look at media as an output. We look at where a person is in their journey, what's the best thing that we can show to this person at this particular time. And I think the change that we need to look at is also media as an input. And by that I mean, how does showing an ad to a particular person then feed the next part of the journey? How do we make sure that we are not just retargeting something we've talked about forever and ever now, but how do we analyze, say, of all of our creatives, what sort of motivations are getting the highest response rate out of consumers? What sort of calls to action? What sort of visuals? And more importantly, how do we do this at scale with minimal human involvement? Going back to, we've seen so much about AI, deploying AI and machine learning to analyze our campaigns at scale to see if the computer can pick out something that human eyes can't about, hey, maybe this particular type of messaging is going to be more important. Maybe this particular size is better at driving these particular types of results. That deployment of AI and using media not just as your output, but as your input as well, to refine and continue to advise future campaigns, I think is going to be quite vital.
I think the two big takeouts for me in the last a couple of minutes of discussion we've had is one, that how brands need to envision a one customer view. And second, what you just said, Terry, is how media needs to be taken as an input, not just an output of how we plan our communications. But going with these two, we know we all as marketers have gone through a long journey to come where we are today using data, AI, and things like that. Going forward, it's not going to be an easy journey to have this one customer view and having media as an input. What else or where other aspects do you see challenges coming for the brand, or what other challenges do you see coming for the brand? We'll start with you, Sam.
Yeah. Again, challenges is within, there is a law that just came in, right? The regulation is not in yet. However, and when I'm talking about the data privacy over here, I think we need to be respectful in terms of how we utilize the data. Going back to the creepiness. And at the same time, it's very important that we differentiate. So there is no one size that fits all, and that's known. And personalization is king to me, is when you are doing this personalization, not only through the traditional digital, because now to me traditional is digital, not through the traditional digital. It's when actually you start surprising the customer at every moment with what we call the delight moments. Through the journey, usually it was like, okay, I will explore, try, buy, and own a car, right? Nowadays, within these 4 steps, there is tons of moments that I want to feel satisfied when I'm doing my finance decision. Okay, so how I can use media, creative, data, and AI to deliver what I'm looking for with an ease. And when I go to the physical store or vice versa, it all stays within. I don't need to restart even for a second. I think that's one of the most challenges, is how you can connect everything all together within an ecosystem that's meaningful to Mr. X, Mrs. Y, etc., etc.
That's it, yeah. Go on, Maria. I was about to ask you,
Sorry,
what would be the challenges from a media perspective on this? Perfect, yeah, please go ahead.
No, what you said there just really, I find that really interesting, because that's that whole idea of making an aspirational brand, right? It's that brand that people will see and people will pay attention to because that is a brand that they love. And making sure that you build that connection is, I think that's such it's such a human thing, and it's such an important thing for brands to be able to do.
Yes, indeed.
Bhaskar, you threw a question at me.
Yeah, and what other challenges do you see from a media perspective in making this happen?
It's a really difficult thing to track. Okay. If you're looking at our traditional media metrics, and again, looking at digital as a traditional media, you can't measure something like aspiration looking at clicks, click-through rates. You've got to be really looking at metrics like attention, which is something that the industry has really struggled to crack, is how do we know that someone's paying attention to a particular ad on a device? There's a lot of really good studies that have gone into this. There's a lot of really interesting learnings that we find from it. But I think we're quite far as an industry from being able to say, okay, this is how many attentive video views we have delivered, versus, you know, those video views that, you know, happen because my son's watching YouTube and wants to get to the next video of Elmo.
Yes. Very interesting. On continuing on that same thing, and Hossam, I want to talk about one topic, is when brands go with this vision of having this personalized experience throughout the journey, online, offline, oftentimes it ends up being, like you had said, one size fits all. Every brand tries to do the same thing. So how can brand be integral or maintain the integrity of their positioning, their identity? How can a brand be themselves while giving that personalized journey to the customers?
It's a soul. It's the soul of the brand. What is the brand? Who am I talking to? When I say Nissan, or when forget Nissan, when I'm talking about the Middle East, the zeitgeist of this region is like, there is an excitement in pushing boundaries. Like you look across the region, I'm not talking only UAE, look at Saudi, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Formula One, concerts, biggest towers, best roads, best internet. They're pushing boundaries of everything, right? We as a brand, as an example with Nissan, going back to where I belong, is we defy ordinary by pushing the boundaries of excitement on everything that we are doing. So when I say as an example, marketing. Okay, we've talked about metaverse, etc., etc. Yes, it's good, but the most important thing is it a customer need. So when I'm pushing the boundaries of going into the metaverse, I need to be meaningful at the same time. Do you need it? And when you need it, I need to make sure that it fits to your need. I think that's where a brand can differentiate is, okay, I know this X brand knows me and is delivering what I need, and it has an aspiration flavor to it, that it's differentiated than others. That's how I see it.
That's very nice. And differentiation and aspiration becoming the differentiation. So Terry, coming to you, from a media perspective, how can media enable brands to have that differentiation which is still being true to the brand?
I think the biggest way that media can contribute and making sure that that aspiration comes true for brands is to make sure that we have that focus on the consumer, and make sure that we have that focus on how the consumer moves through that media journey, and understand where a particular person is, and understand sentiment. And that's probably the most difficult thing that we can do, using things like brand lift studies, using things like MTA, understand how people are really feeling about a brand at any point in time, and making those subtle shifts in mid-campaign to drive the result that we're really looking for at any given point.
That's great, that's great. So now we are almost coming to the end of our discussion. So just to sum up, we've had interesting, I would say, takeouts of this. One customer view, media as an input, having a check on what your brand promise is, what your brand positioning is, being true to it, having studies that make it sure that you're on the right track. So these are some of the very interesting things we discussed. Now to conclude, if we have to sum up what would marketing look like from the lens of precision marketing and brand aspiration in one sentence, what would you say, Hossam?
Okay, go predictive marketing. So we're into prediction 2023. I think it's very important. So I will do it quickly, but like predict based on customer needs. Right. See what is the customer need, predict, and then execute it in the best way possible. There is a Japanese saying, it says, ichigo ichi, which is, okay. Wow. So there is this ichigo ichie, which means it's a one moment, one meeting. There is one chance with this customer where you make it or break it. Even if this relationship stands for years, one interaction, I'm done. Yeah, so I think it's very, very important. That's my
powerful.
takeout.
You have one chance to make a brilliant impression on the customer. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Terry, what do you think? One sentence that encapsulates what you think about the prediction.
One sentence. Look, I think 2023's precision marketing has unfairly gained this reputation for being lower funnel and very, very focused and not being good at doing anything else. And I think 2023 is the year where we break out of that mold and we start looking at application of precision marketing through upper funnel metrics, and how do we use precision marketing to build brands, to build relationships with consumers that go much higher than just point of sale.
Yeah. Right. Interesting. Great. Thank you so much, Hossam. Thank you, Terry. Hope you all had an interesting time with our discussion as well.